Chapter 56. Just as Xiao Ran was about to scream, Dr. Kui covered her mouth from behind. The scream turned into a muffled whimper, stifled in her throat. Doctors that the three who had just gone outside were silent, curious to see what was happening, only to be confronted with a bizarre scene that nearly scared the soul out of him. None of the four dared to make a sound, quietly watching the creature before them that resembled a cricket. It moved its hind legs rapidly like an insect, constantly changing direction, as if searching for something. Occasionally, it lifted its face, revealing two bloody cavities where its eyes used to be. Glancing around, its neck twisted in a way that was not human, but insect-like, with unnaturally rapid and alarming movements. After a few seconds, the creature suddenly leapt high, jumping toward the wall of the convenience store, torch to illuminate the area, trying to keep track of its movements. Losing sight of the target in this dark environment was the worst thing that could happen. However, as he lifted the torch, even with KXIA's mental fortitude, he almost collapsed to the ground. The wall illuminated by the fire was crawling with creatures. At a glance, there were at least a dozen of them, all moving quickly along the wall. As the light hit them, it seemed they sensed something and scrambled back into the darkness. They resembled crickets, cockroaches, and spiders, anything but humans. Tijia felt every hair on his body stand on end. On their way to the convenience store, he and Lin Tian had been navigating in the dark, hearing the constant chirping of insects. Sometimes the sound was far away, sometimes it was close. It turned out none of it was from real insects, but from these humans. Just thinking about how he and Lin Tian had been moving forward with these things crawling around them made the feeling beyond mere post-fear. Tijia felt a bead of cold sweat trickle down as he slowly turned around and waved his hand at the others. They understood his signal and began to back away slowly, torched tightly, keeping a close watch on the creatures on the wall as he and the three others retreated step by step into the room. They didn't dare make a sound, moving extremely slowly. These creatures appeared to have their eyes gouged out, and could only rely on sound to find their way. Fortunately, everyone understood the importance of survival, and no one made a sound. After shutting the door, Tijia found a wooden board nearby and propped it against the door. A group continued to back away until they reached the corner of the room. The cold, mottled wall gave them a slight sense of security. What exactly are those things? Xiao Ran asked, trembling. They're humans, guys. Xiao replied before shaking his head immediately. No, the skeletal structure of a human can't perform those movements. They must be insects. Hui Zhao took a deep breath and said, I heard rustling sounds last night, which means these things didn't just appear today. They've always been here. He turned to Lin Tian, his expression serious. We were incredibly lucky. We didn't step on any of these things along the way. Lin Tian nodded, still in shock. Clearly frightened, the four of them fell silent before witnessing this horrifying sight. Perhaps they could have slept soundly at night, but now, none of them dared to close their eyes, leaning against the wall, intently watching the door, ever vigilant for those things trying to break in. The night stretched long, devoid of sleep or sounds. They stood by the wall for half the night, and now their backs ached in, their legs were tired. Gradually, they noticed something. The insects outside didn't seem to want to invade this brightly lit place at all, trying to explain the phenomena of this place using its rules. No matter how bizarre they looked, even with their eyes using blood, they were still just insects. If the insects were the same as the store clerks, they would definitely play their roles well. Thinking this way, the danger posed by the insects outside didn't seem too great. Even if they attacked humans, it wasn't likely they would come crashing through the door in swarms. With that thought, Tijia slowly sat down and stretched his sore limbs. Seeing someone take the lead, the other three also sat down, though they still looked tense. Tijia, what should we do? Lin Tian asked. Tijia stroked his chin and replied, let's sleep. Sleep? Just a bit, to conserve our energy. Tisha found a clean piece of wood and laid it beside Lin Tian. In the morning, we'll head out to find Officer Li. But what about those outside? Don't worry, Tisha said casually. They won't come in as long as we don't go out. We should be safe for now. Lin Tian nodded cautiously, like a child, and then lay down. Tisha moved to the corner, found a clean piece of wood to cover the pot, and sat on top of it to weigh it down. Xiao, Ran and Drive, Zhao exchanged glances. They looked at each other, then at Tisha and Lin Tian. How could they possibly sleep, even if they could ignore the insects outside? Xiao Ran still felt Tisha was a dangerous person. In the story he had told, he was a scammer who had defrauded 2 million. How could such a person be good? Would sleeping beside him lead to inexplicable death again the next morning? Taisha was entirely unconcerned about Xiao Ran and Drive, Zhao's expressions, instead leaning against the wall and resting his eyes. Whether those two were sleepless was irrelevant. Lin Tian, lying on the wood, glanced at Tisha, feeling a pang of compassion, and moved a bit closer, saying, Tisha, the board is big enough. You should lie down too. Tisha lifted an eyelid and replied, No need. I'm used to sleeping sitting up. Sitting up. Lin Tian pondered for a moment, then stood up, moving the board next to Tisha and lying back down. Then you can sit next to me and sleep. Taisha didn't refuse. Compared to Xiao Ren and Drive, Lin Tian had left a decent impression on him. Lying on the board, Lin Kai looked at Tisha with a hint of curiosity and asked, Why are you used to sleeping sitting up? Tisha raised an eyebrow, then seriously considered the question. Because sleeping sitting up doesn't let me enter a relaxed state. It keeps my brain ready to work. Lin Tian nodded, but seemed to think of something else. Do you always sleep sitting up? Yes. For many years, Tisha sensed that Lin Tian was curious. So he turned to her. Is that question important? Lin Tian swallowed hard, then organized her words before finally asking, But you have a wife. Even if you live together, do you really sleep sitting up every night?